Hey guys, it's John from Eastern Hot Rodder, and today we're doing a book review on how to chop tops. Not this one though. This one came out in 1994, and this was a wealth of information, but it's a black and white print inside. It goes through and covers tons of different cars to chop. It was by Tech Smith. This book has been long out of print. It was by Cartech Inc., which is still in business today, and cartechbooks.com is who prints all the automotive publications and stuff and all these books and how-to books and everything like that. The latest one just came out, and this is by Tony Thacker, and it is How to Chop Tops again. It's a good updated version of this old Tech Smith book. If you can find this Tech Smith book, grab it because it is a great one. But today we're going to be talking about the How to Chop Tops book by Tony Thacker. This is a great book. I would say it's just as good as the old Tech Smith book, but this one's kind of interesting because it goes into some of the history of why they chop tops and some of the big movers and shakers that kind of made that a popular thing. So if you look at, we're going to show you some pages through here to get whet your appetite on it. These are like $37 plus shipping. If you go to cartechbooks.com, you can find it, or you can call them at 1-800-551-4754. This one here, this is the first section. It's kind of like the history of, which gives you some really cool old photos from back in the salt flats and stuff like that, some of the early day stuff. Check out this Barris ad. It's just really cool. That's a beautiful mark there. Once they get through that, they get into the tools you need. There's some really neat tools. Like I kind of want one of these things. This thing, you can loosen up and adjust it. There's some of those tools are expensive. Some of these tools you can get away with not using. I've chopped tops myself. Like I hadn't had one of these, but they would also be very handy and probably make my next chop much better if I had those. Sawzall is a must. This little reciprocating saw is a good one. You can get these at all sorts of different places like Harbor Freight and stuff. Cut different cutoff wheels for different angles, because sometimes when you get cutting through the metal, there's multiple layers and reinforcement in there. So that's a good chapter. It gets in more in depth with the types of hammers and stuff that some people use. Any body hammer can be used, but the more you have and the more you can modify on them, the better off you are. They get into talk about reinforcement and stuff, and then just like the old How to Chop Tops book, one of the first things they cover is the Model Ts. And they give you some neat examples of chopped Model Ts from old and new. Here's some old pictures. This one's so radically chopped, it's almost just like would have been better just cutting the roof off it. Then in chapter 3, they go into Model A's. They cover a couple different Model A's. This one I like in particular because you can see how they show the scribe lines really good. This is really nice because some of the stuff gets lost in these photos in the old black and white How to Chop Tops books from Tech Smith. So it's nice. Look at chopping tops is easy enough that even a little kid can do it. Now, granted, this is a very talented kid with a very talented father. What it says early in the book, and they're right, is don't shy away from this. It is a very time-consuming, and if it's well thought out and planned, anybody that has the ability to weld can chop a top. And if you just take your time and do it right, and that's what's great about this book. It gives you different ideas, different ways to chop. They have a whole bunch of 32 Fords. Again, you can see how this one was chopped a little different. They cut it and avoided this body line. They took it out from just one spot and then gave it a little swoop so they can hide the welds a little better. In this one, they're TIG welding it. He cut the outer skin off the post here. I love this page just for this guy's look on his face. You can tell he's getting ready to, this guy's getting ready to weld, and that guy just looks like he's not having the best day there. But after the 32 Fords, and there's a bunch of 32 Fords. There's another 32 Ford. This one's chopped completely different. They're chopped aside when it was first after they cut the roof off. Gives you different techniques, different ideas, different ways. It really shows you that there is more than one way to chop a top. There are multiple ways to chop a top, and they're grouped into two different ways: the right way and the wrong way. So as long as it comes out right, you did it the right way. You can see, I like this page here because you can see how much they actually had to modify the sheet metal and hand pound some new pieces of metal to kind of Frankenstein stitch it all back together. So this is a 33 or 34. This is a 33 from Hollywood Hot Rods. All the pictures that are taken in this are all high-end shops that have been featured in magazines like Rod and Custom and Hot Rod Magazine. So these are well-known builders that have done this multiple times. One here, Roy Brizzo's 34 Ford. He was building a clone of the 554 car. Beautiful car. That's one of my favorite 34 Fords ever. he does a really good job just modifying this car and chopping the top on that one. You can see the beautiful metal work here. You can see where it was stitched in, and after it was stitched in, you can't even tell that it was even chopped. So that is a really good metal man. After that, it gets into the turret top cars, like the 50s cars. This particular one is, I believe, a Cadillac LaSalle. And I picked this page to share with you because you can see that this guy used actually just regular pieces of paper. And he made a template with a lot of measuring, a lot of marks, and he's using some rare earth magnets to hold the paper to the car. And then he transfers that to the sheet metal and cuts it out and stretches it and works the metal to the shape he needs it to be. And I just thought that was a really neat way to show that one. This car, of course, everybody knows this one, Billy Gibbons Copperhead 54 shoebox. Some of these pictures have not been published before, other ones have. You can see how much they chopped the window here. You can see compared to the vent window. Some of these old black and white photos are black and white because this was done a long time ago. But check out how they had to stitch the roof in back there. You know, everybody thinks you just cut the pillars and drop the roof down. But what a lot of times what happens when you cut the roof and drop it down, it has to be split because as that pillar or the roof gets narrow at the top, as it comes down, you have to add metal to it. So a lot of these guys will add the metal or they'll just move the roof in and stitch it all back together. And this book is great at showing you some examples of that kind of stuff. They get into even the newest car they show in here is a 60s Mopar. And you can see how much this guy modified this car. He kind of mixed and matched a couple cars together. And let me get this one particular page. This page is, I picked this one because I wanted to show you the vent window. There's the stock vent window and there's the chopped one. Look how curved that is. That had to be a pretty tricky top to cut. That is not an easy task. But this car, talk about cut up. This guy basically took the car, cut it all to pieces, and then put it all back together. Far more than just a top chop on this particular car. So this book here, it gives you some great ideas. It's inspiring, some really good stories, some background on some of these cars. A lot of background on cars that you read about in magazines that you might not have necessarily seen these photos on. So it's really cool to look back at cars that were built over the last 20, 30 years and see how these guys at these pro shops have done it. And hopefully it inspires you to actually try it yourself. Again, I've chopped a couple tops myself. There's things I would change. I think anytime you do something, you would look to better yourself each time. And the resources like this are really good. And I know we're a bunch of hot rodders and knuckle draggers, but really when it comes right down to it, we're a lot smarter than people let on. And we do like to read books, especially when they got nice, pretty shiny pictures of old hot rods in there. So pick up your copy today of How to Chop Tops, Thacker's new book, and it is at cartechbooks.com. Order it up today. Tell them Eastern Hot Rodder sent you. You'll be glad you got it. And before we go, they sent me this catalog. And this catalog shows you all the stuff that they still have and will reprint. There is tons of stuff. Just about every make and model you can think of, there's a book. Now, in this catalog, it shows little red dots. These are out of print, but they will print to order, meaning that it might not be to the same quality as a fresh printed book, but you're still getting all the important information. They got a whole bunch of things on automotive history. Lost muscle car dealerships, drag racing model kits. So you got modeling, plastic model car stuff too. So if you're a collector of the scale model cars, they got their book for you. This one's still in print. There's actually a bunch of these are still in print. And then the other ones can still be ordered to print. But they had stuff on AMCs and some kind of obscure stuff that you would not expect too many books to be written about. This book here I'd like to get is How to Hook and Launch. That's a good suspension book for drag racing. And then over here you can see, look, they got stuff on Alfa Romeos, Allards. I mean, that's a pretty, talk about very specific topic. Kaiser Frazer, they got a road test book of Kaiser Frazer's from 1946 to 1955. That one is a reprintable book. So they really have a bunch of stuff. And not only, I just recently found this out, they don't just do car stuff, but they also have stuff for fabrication, wiring, and tattooing. So check out their site. Even if you're not into the chop and tops, they have a book that'll be made for you, and it's just in time for Christmas. So go to cartechbooks.com, see what they have out there today. Order up the How to Chop Top books, and when you do, tell them Eastern Hot Rodder sent you. Thanks for watching.